Hi, welcome. If you're new, then hello. My name is Samira. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today's video idea was actually suggested for me to do by a good friend of mine, and as you probably saw from the title, it's all about suffering with a mental illness whilst working. Before I get into today's video, please feel free to subscribe and hit that little bell icon. That just means that you'll get notified every time I post a brand new video. I post brand new videos every Wednesday, and I'll get straight into the video. So work's an important part to our well-being. So as well as the additional income that we get from working, it can give us a big part of our identity, how we understand our skills, and it can help us contribute to bigger things. However, suffering with a mental illness can have a massive impact on the way we work. What are mental illnesses? They're health problems that affect the way that we think about ourselves, how we relate and communicate with other people, and how we view the overall world around us. They affect our thoughts, feelings, and behaviours. Mental illnesses are more likely to come up during stressful periods in our lives, and sometimes that includes our work life. However, life stresses outside of work can also affect our mental health, which may have a knock-on effect on us whilst we're at work. It's important to understand that mental illnesses are real illnesses, so just because you can't see them like some of the other physical illnesses does not mean that they're not as important. Just like physical illnesses such as asthma and diabetes, most mental health problems are periodic. So that just means that people have periods when they're well and they're productive, but it also means that they have periods when they're unwell and their overall functioning is low. How do mental illnesses impact workers and workplaces? So people who suffer from a mental illness may doubt their abilities or may appear less confident. A person may have a hard time concentrating, learning and making decisions if they are suffering from a mental illness. Mental illnesses can have a big impact on our relationships. So people who experience a mental illness may withdraw from others, act in unexpected ways, take a lot of time off due to suffering with mental illness, or appear less productive than usual. This can strain relationships with supervisors and co-workers. Telling a supervisor or a member of your workplace's human resources team about a diagnosis of any health problem is called disclosure. So you do need to say that you're experiencing health challenges and you have to describe what you need to work well. Your employer may need information from your healthcare provider just about your abilities and difficulties, but they don't need to know your diagnosis. If you do decide to disclose, you and your supervisor may figure out strategies to try and help you stay at work. These strategies are also called accommodations, and by law, workplaces need to try and look at reasonable accommodations for anyone experiencing a disability. So a lot of people don't know that a mental illness is actually a disability, so by law your workplace does need to try and accommodate for this. Disclosing may help other people as well in your workplace understand changes or difficulties that they've noticed. How can you help a co-worker who's suffering with mental illness? So different mental illnesses have different symptoms, and people experiencing the same mental illness may handle it in different ways. Some people may hide their symptoms and some people may work well despite having symptoms. If you've noticed changes and you're concerned about a co-worker, then it's best to express your concern without making an assumption. If a co-worker is experiencing a mental illness, it's best to let them decide what and how much they want to tell your other co-workers. So if somebody is suffering with a mental illness and they decide to confide in you, it's not then your place to tell everybody else in the workplace. You need to let the person actually suffering with the illness, if they actually want to tell other people, and how much they want to tell them, and what it is exactly they want to tell them. So you can still offer support and just let your co-worker know that you're there to listen without judgment and make your co-worker still feel like they're part of the team. So some of my tips are just simply asking how that person is and just respecting your co-worker's wishes then as well. Continuing to include people suffering with mental illness in activities. So like it says, sometimes people with mental illness can withdraw and they may like decline offers to go out and things like that, but just keep inviting them and keep making sure that they are invited and you do want them around. Depending on the relationship that you have with your co-worker, if they have taken time off work because they're suffering with their mental illness, then feel free to reach out to them. If you're close to them, just because they're not in work, then you can contact them. And then when a co-worker returns back to work, don't ignore them, because that's probably going to make them feel worse. Just let them know that you're there if they need them, and things like that. So they're just my tips, or some of my tips on how to be with a co-worker who's suffering with a mental illness. I hope this video has helped in some way. If it has, feel free to show your support by liking, commenting, sharing the video. If you have any other suggestions that you'd like me to do, then obviously comment down below or send me messages. There are a few comments from people they'd like me to do different videos. I am trying to get around to doing it. So that's everything from me today. Thank you so much for your time. Take care. Bye.